we have another video for you, ladies and gentlemen, from an honorary life member, an HLM, all the way from Ilkley by train. This video came. It's got to be Wilf Shaw, ladies and gentlemen.
When I first applied to join the Junior Chamber, I was discouraged. I was told that they didn't want insurance men. I think they only wanted wool men. I don't know where they are now. How are the mighty fallen? In fact, it was at my second attempt that I think Tony Hepworth encouraged me to go into membership, and Richard Inman was the president at the time. I was an insurance broker in Commerce House, and with Dallas in Commerce House, actually, on the 6th floor, and the Junior Chamber Council meetings were held on the 1st floor, so it turned out to be very convenient for me, actually, when I got onto council, to attend there. The first meeting I ever attended was here in this club, in the Bradford Club, when it was the Union Club, and it was Brigadier Lloyd on turning the railways into roads. I thought that was an excellent project. I must say, most of the things I heard in the other days I thought were first class. Anyway, I joined the Junior Chamber and I became interested in the economic affairs section because that was the closest to my business. I joined really because it was a rather more serious version of things, of activities than the round table, which was its competitor at the time. And after a life of dissipation as a young man, I was probably glad to have something that would improve my status in the community. When I became president, the Junior Chamber nationally had been involved in smokeless zones, in the encouragement of smokeless zones. You forget what it was like in Bradford years ago with the mill chimneys and fog and smoke and that sort of thing. All our buildings were black. The buildings were being cleaned. In fact, my father said it was a waste of time cleaning the town hall, which it was then, because he said his grandfather had told him it was made of coal. It did clean. The Junior Chamber ran the smokeless zone campaign throughout the country, and we gradually spread throughout. It was the very early days of the environmental movement, and we met a few of the men of trees who were considered very eccentric. They thought tree planting was a very good thing for the environment. And we took this up and were, I think, the first to do so. Locally, the project in my year, the big project in my year, was to plant saplings, trees, on Thornbury Roundabout. And some of those are still there. They are now very mature trees, despite the fact that the roundabout's been changed in many ways. It was a huge roundabout, of course. We could plant the trees around the edge and still leave a football pitch in the middle. In my day, a number of changes have taken place since. But it is nice to know that we started on the green movement. One of our members was Ross Jones. One reason we travelled a lot was Ross Jones, the Bradford travel. And he actually chartered a Boeing 707, which was a big aircraft in those days, personally chartered a Boeing 707 to take us all to the World Congress in Montreal. So it was up to him to fill it and got people from all over the country. I don't think people take risks like that on behalf of Junior Chamber anymore. Goodness knows what would happen if only 8 people had decided to go. What you learn from Junior Chamber, I suppose, is your involvement with other groups. And if a job's worth doing, you might as well buckle down and do it. And if someone wants to help you with it, that's fair enough. But I got involved in things like the Heaton Township Association, the local residents group, who had planning. I became their planning officer and was planning secretary for, I think, 23 years there. And as a result, we made Heaton into a sensitive area for planning. When I moved to Ilkley 10 years ago, on retirement, the planning officer said, it's not that fellow Wilfred Shaw, is it, from Heaton? And someone said, yes, it's the same guy. And he said, oh, God. He said, I left Heaton to avoid him. He and his ex-Junior Chamber colleagues made Heaton into a sensitive area for planning. So it's nice to know that years later your reputation still goes forward. The presidency of the Chamber of Commerce doesn't follow automatically from being president of the Junior Chamber, but it's a great help. and I was president of that, but that's another story. And I look forward to telling that at the Bradford Chamber of Commerce dinner if anyone ever decides to put me on video. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy your evening.
Just a few words from Judith Donovan, CBE. I'd like to introduce Judith, but there are so many credits now to her name. I've got her down here. The lady who is in charge of the entire UK. And then underneath I put, currently looking after farmers. So, ladies and gentlemen, Judith Donovan.
Thank you very much indeed. Distinguished guests, Pillocks, saves a lot of time. It is my dubious honour to ask for the vote of thanks for the people who've made tonight happen. I am dead impressed with what we've got for our dosh. It nearly rivals my first job chairing Ways and Means, where I raised the entire year's budget in one term by running stag nights. And interviewing the strippers myself to make sure that Ron Farley was happy. But seriously, we've got people here from, I think, every generation, every decade. We've got people here from all over the country, a lot of people have travelled a very long way. And I think that's a credit to the organisers for rounding us all up. I think it's even more of a credit to the organisers for what's going to be a lively, wonderful evening that will run on and on. And which is why I said to John, could I do this now before we aspire to the giddy heights? You know, erudition and education and sophistication and style and suave and charm, all of which Bradford Junior Chamber does so well. Also in role reversal terms, which Junior Chamber is very good for when it finally decided to let the women in, right now. I have a beautiful assistant helping me over there, Mr. Richard Whiteman, because we want to say thank you to 7 very special people. I'd like each of them to stand up and I'd like you to give them a round of applause. The first one is Sheila Patchett. Last but not least, but the email gave them in this order, John Eaton. Malcolm Jones. Tim Lomas. Andrew Cullen. Anika Easy. Made it happen, Cavalier-Lumley. I suggest the 6 lucky recipients put their presents from me away quickly, because if the evening doesn't improve, I'll ask for them back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Another HLM, which of course stands for Honorary Life Member. Unknown to any of you, I'm quite certain, Mr. John Eaton, ladies and gentlemen.
Contrary to popular impression, I'm not actually a video. My Lord Mayor, and I won't go through Philip's rigmarole, friends. Today is the Golden Jubilee, literally today and in this room. And I'm delighted that you're all sitting at the right tables. When I came in and saw the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, I said to Philip, this must be, you know, the connection between 5, 17 and 86. He said, no. I said, well, they are adjacent rooms in the Dublin Hilton. I said, whoever did that has obviously numbered the tables tonight. Anyway, we're here to celebrate the Golden Jubilee, and Junior Chamber was, in our day, all about participation. So when I said to Judith, what do you think I should do? She said, well, why don't we have a quiz? So that's a good idea, participation. We can ask questions like, why are wrong telephone numbers never engaged? Can sterility, can it be inherited? Now, that actually isn't as stupid as it sounds, because if you think about it, if your parents didn't have any children, the odds are that you won't do either. So there's a strong argument to say that it can. But I thought instead we'll go back, not to when I first joined, but 50-year anniversary. So if I could just take you back 50 years and invite each table just to call out the answers, and whichever table, in my opinion, has got the most answers right, wins a bottle of wine for tonight as an additional prize. So 1959, 50 years ago, a very eventful year. In politics, the Prime Minister in the UK, Harold Macmillan, and he defeated the Labour and the Liberal candidates who were Kate Still, yeah, and Joe Grimman. Well done. Transport. In 1959, a hovercraft was invented by Cockerell. Well done, Sir Christopher Cockerell. And you've got to be quicker on table 6. And the first section of the M1 motorway was opened from London to... Leeds? That was only a week ago. Birmingham is correct. Well done. Economics in 1959, the average cost of a new house, £2,410. The average man's working salary, this is much more than woman's, quite rightly so. The average man's working salary, how much a year? Average male salary? £190. A pint of milk cost? 3.3p. A loaf of bread was 4.5 pence. And the Austin 7, affectionately known as the Mini, went on sale that year from BMC at, not as much as that, £500. In sport, now look at table 10 now, Wimbledon, Rod Laver was defeated in the final by, can anybody remember? I think he was Mexican. Alex, not Pedro, he was a Mexican, he didn't play tennis. Alex Olmedo. And in the ladies' final, Darlene Hard, who remembers her, was defeated by a very glamorous ladies' champion, Maria Bueno. Well done, middle. The footballer of the year, any guesses? 1959? Bobby Charlton, well done. And the FA Cup was won by? No, Nottingham Forest. And the cricket championship was won by, of course it was. In the entertainment world, 50 years ago, The Sound of Music opened on Broadway. The record of the year, anybody like to guess it? It's still being played a lot. Dean Martin sang it. It's Volare. But somebody famous was killed in a plane crash that year. Buddy Holly, absolutely right. The top films were Some Like It Hot and North by Northwest, but the Oscar for the Best Picture, with about 9 Oscars, went to Ben-Hur. Well done, no hesitation there. So, at 50 years ago, you all remember the Irish attempt on Everest failed when they ran out of scaffolding. That was their only failure. And 50 years ago this very week, the big event, of course, in September 1959, was the birth of Simon Cowell. It was actually also the birth of a very famous young lady who hasn't aged at all. Barbie, well done. Well done. So, I think it's very fitting, thank you for that participation, friends. It's very fitting that in this week of all weeks, National Gallbladder Week, that we're having our 50th celebration. And I would like to pay tribute, no connection with the last comment, to Sheila Patchett. Bradford's answer to Queen Boadicea. And, of course, Philip Vauxhall Cavalier-Lumley, the man of whom it has often been said. Now, I wouldn't say that Sheila is bossy or pushy in any way, but she's the only person I know that can go into a revolving door after you and come out before you. And both Sheila and Philip, it's really been the two of them who worked so hard for the success of this evening, not least because Junior Chamber Thoroughness ensuring that every single minute of this evening has been organised. And I mean every minute, because Philip and I got about 2 days ago 4 pages of closely typed instructions, detailed timetable, 7 p.m, Philip Cavalier-Lumley to greet guests arriving, 7:01 p.m, guest start arriving, 7:25 top table guests, 7:27 guest starts to stand by their tables, 7:30 Philip goes for pee, 7:30... It's down to the ultimate detail. So what does it say now? It says, John's talk, remind guests, what should I have, what should I say now? Pay tribute to Sheila's fantastic organisational powers. And I'm sorry, I can't read your writing here, Sheila. So her attention to detail was such that I don't know if any of you have had time just to read the wine notes on the menu, but she actually phoned me to point out that the bottle had a capital B and it should have been a small b, and the fantastic attention to detail that reminded me of that sign, true, that was on a bus in Bradford many years ago, and the sign blazoned on the side said, "Are you illiterate? Can't read or write? Send off for our free brochure." Well, I said to Sheila, what should I do? And then I looked at the instructions, what next? Joke about your age. Thank you, Sheila. Well, all I can say is I did actually, Margaret and I celebrated our Ruby wedding 2 weeks ago. I will share a reminiscence with you, because when I came home, to my surprise, Margaret was standing there, dressed in very little, with a glass of wine in her hand, and when I got to the door, she just looked at me and she said, "John, take me upstairs and make mad, passionate love to me." And I have to say, at this age, I had to say to her, "I'm sorry, Margaret," I said, "I can do one or the other, but not both." So, like Wilf, I thought if I could just finish with some reminiscences. And firstly, how nice it is for all of us to be here in the Midland where it actually started. The Midland, which for the older members of us has many happy memories, because we used to meet here, and in particular, we had a memorable wine tasting here when I'd arranged for a client, the House of Hamilton, who had just gone into the wine business, to give a wine tasting, and I didn't know at the time, but they'd never done one before. So this chap came along with something like £650 worth of bottles, 7 reds, 7 whites and 2 champagnes for 20 of us. And the result was at the end of the evening, I won't tell you the Chris Price saga now, but if you hold me afterwards, it's worth retelling. But suffice it only to say that that was the night on which Robin Lipscomb and Peter Jones got engaged. Peter is here, he will tell you that he proposed to Robin on that night. I think they're still engaged, it wasn't consummated. We've also had annual dinners here. Those on table 10 will remember Sir John Betjeman, who was the speaker. We used to get a big name speaker for the annual dinner. And Sir John Betjeman, who just sat there throughout the meal, and then I noticed towards the dessert course, he just got out the menu and started drawing or scribbling on it. And when he stood up, he looked at the back of the menu, and he just described his train journey from Manchester to Bradford, and going through all the Pennines and the beautiful places, and he did it in lovely poetic language, and it was a most fascinating exhibition of after dinner speaking. And then the next year, in Wilf's year, he had an annual dinner at which the guest of honour was Miss Tidy. Remember, keep written tidy. And Miss Tidy turned up in a miniskirt and a string vest and nothing else. She went down very, very well.